are going to talk about some topics which are probably if you are going to refer that from PM box, which is the reference guide by PMI for PMP, or maybe you are going to refer that from internet, or maybe even on the simulator as well. You are not going to get that level of extensive discussion over there. I understand. Probably it's not needed, or probably uh, they assume that everybody already is aware of that. But I personally feel that this is a topic that we should spend some time on. Teaming, stakeholder analysis, stakeholder engagement, and that's the main agenda for today. So the first topic about is about the project team. Who is the project team? Who would tell me, like in just one line, who is a project team?
People who are working on a single project.
Okay. Any other perspective? Everyone works in the project team, right? Everybody must be part of the project team in their organization. So what is the who is a project team? Not what, but
Madam, if you may allow me,
yes,
I
sure.
think the project team consists of three main aspects. Like one would be the project team itself, which is working like the project staff, and the upper one would be the project management team that is managing the project, and there should be another human resource that is the consultative team, those contractors, consultants, or like those work for a limited time and then they go. I think these three well constitute the project team.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
very good. Yes. Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, in my opinion, a group of individuals who are taking care of who, what, how part of the project to achieve the goal as set by the charter of the project. Uh, and for so it can be, that is defined under, and they are defined under org chart. So it may be like, in simple words, yes, everybody who are working towards the achievement of project goal are a part of project team, basically.
Okay. So all of you are correct. Maybe some part of the explanation may require a little explanation, but broadly all of you are correct. So project team, like on a very high level, is a group of people who gets the project work done, as we already have talked about while we were speaking about the resources itself and the human resources itself. So it's like if it's a group of human resources. We already know in detail who is a resource and how the resources are planned. So out of all the resources, the human resource part collectively and that group is project. They have a name. That group of human resources in a project has a name, and that name is project team. They are supposed to get the project work done. They perform the project, right, to achieve the objectives. Adi has been right about connecting it to the org chart. However, I would not say I would not call it the org chart. I would call it the RBS, this resource breakdown structure. So under the supervision of project manager, or however you call it, the project lead, the project manager, the project director, whoever is the in charge of the project for the successful delivery and to make it a success. Under that person, whoever is working is part of the project team. As we have seen, a very simplified resource breakdown structure a few slides ago. So under that that main head, there was a design lead, there was a programming lead, there was a business analyst lead, there was other leads as well. For all those leads and their different team members, collectively, all of them are project team members, because all of them are making their contributions to get some part of the project done. So that's what a project team is. So other way of saying is group of human resources in the project. If you ask me that what about the agile, so yesterday we have seen that agile team, if we specifically talk about the Scrum team, Scrum would have a product owner, Scrum master, and a group of members in the development team. So collectively, the agile Scrum team is all those three roles and different members under there. If we talk about the exactly who is the group involved in the execution of the project, then that the answer to that is development. So whatever we consider as project team over here, in case of agile, it's development. So of course, in case of agile as well, you need people to get the project work done. The way of doing the work is going to be very different than what is going to be in predicted, but people are going to be there to get the project work done. So over there, it's development team, or you can just call it agile project team. In case you are not following Scrum, you are following Kanban, or you are following other aspects. In case you follow the safe mechanism, then it's termed as a release train. So there are different ways of calling it out, but we are more interested in the Scrum framework, and we are not interested at a higher level frameworks for implementing agile in PMP at least. So we are going to be focused more on the development team or the agile team when it comes to the group of people who does the project. So this is what the project team is. In case of predictive, the project team usually reports to directly or indirectly, they report to project manager. And in case of agile, the development team doesn't report to anyone specifically, at least for the sake of agile part. Maybe in their organizational structure or organogram, they have a functional manager or they have a lead. But for the project, they are a group who gets the project work done by themselves with their own ownership, and they get the backlog for the project from the product owner. Right? We are going to speak more about that later. So that's what the project team is. Now, so these are some of the traits of the project team that we already have talked about. The project teams are estimated, and have different roles within the project team. They are estimated, acquired, and developed as per the resource management plan. By the way, in case you are wondering that where do we actually record who is working on which role or which with which expectations, you may have a different resource plan or a resource document to state that. But usually in the projects, you have the understanding of the roles and responsibilities and the number of those resources. For instance, 3 QA, 4 programmers, 2 PAs, like this kind of planning and this kind of resource arrangement is done. And after the resource is hired, then they are going to be assigned to a respective department or functional structure with the functional lead, and they are going to just assign to the project. You may have a separate document to state that out of these 3 QAs, this person is QA number 1, this person is QA number 2, so that announcement is there. However, PMI doesn't really talk about any such document where the resources with their names are name and designation, and their identities are stated. You may, if you want, you may document that directly in the resource management plan if you already have that understanding by that time. Okay. Now comes the stakeholder part. So this is a major discussion point, stakeholder and the associated topics for today. Who would want to tell me that who is a stake?
Anybody that has a stake in the project success is a stakeholder. It can be a customer, it can be somebody who has financed the project, it can be related department, anybody. It's not like just a customer or anything.
Okay. Any other perspective?
Anyone who is
Any-
directly or
Yes, first Yasin and then Hamad.
okay, anyone who is directly or indirectly related to the project.
Correct. Yes, Hamad.
Anyone who is directly or indirectly affected by the outcome of the project.
Very well. Yes. Anyone else who would want to add something to the stakeholder concept? Okay, no problem. So a stakeholder, definition has multiple pieces in there, and it's very important that we understand each of the piece so that we get to the concept in the right manner. Broadly, all of you are correct. Stakeholder is anyone who is directly or indirectly associated to the project, or indirectly associated to the project outcomes, or they may affect or get affected or from the project outcome. So yes, all of this is correct. So there is some additions on top of what you have said. First of all, a stakeholder. When we say project, we are particularly talking about the project stakeholder. Stakeholder can be at any level in the organization. So the first part of the definition is a stakeholder can be an individual, it can be a group, or it can be an organization as well. Right? So it's not always the case that stakeholders are always it's always going to be one person, or it's always going to be a human only. It can be organizations as well. So that's this part of the definition is the first element. The second element is that they may affect or they may get affected by the project outcomes. Now, what does that mean? It means that whatever we are making from that project, we have talked about that briefly, that a project is a project for the reason that you are working towards a product, or maybe a group of products, or certain deliverables, certain outputs, or some results or services from that project, right? So our stakeholder is there in the project because of the reason that they are interested in what you are making, right? Either they are interested in what you are making, or either you are interested, like being the provider of the services, or being the performing organization for that project. From their side, you are interested to get something, some support, some assistance from their side, so that you have the right expectations fulfilled for the project. Or it can be both ways, like they are going to be interested or affected by what you are making, and they can affect you as well with respect to your deliveries and the people and the different processes, approvals, and multiple aspects of the project. So they can get affected or they can affect you. It can be and or in case of a project. Right? And one minute, and this can affect or can get affected part can be both positive or negative as well. Yes, Asma, please proceed.
So in any kind of project, the stakeholders, is it the result oriented, like the decision oriented, or the people who are working for a project as well, they can also be a stakeholder?
That's a good question. We were coming to that part. So stakeholders are absolutely any individual, group, or organization who are in the projects directly or indirectly, which means that the project team we have talked about, or the human resources that we have talked about earlier, they are definitely one of the stakeholders. So people have that misunderstanding. It can be a misunderstanding, or it can be an unawareness as well, that people just interchangeably use the team stakeholder terminology, which is not correct. Team is one of the stakeholders, but stakeholders are not only the team. Stakeholders is a broader set, which includes the team members for sure, but there are many other stakeholders. There are customers, there are sponsors, senior management, governance, regulatory compliance, and you may have your suppliers as well. You have different contractors, vendors as well. So there can be multiple stakeholders. Everybody has some stake. Either they are interested, or they are, or you are interested to get some services from them, or it can be both ways as well. So, Asma, are you clear on that part?
Yes, it's clear. Thank you.
Okay. So when we, so this can affect or get affected by part is actually the most important when we talk about the stakeholders, because a stakeholder is a stakeholder because of this reason, that how you affect them or how they can affect, right? And until and unless this can affect or get affected by part is not positive, you are in trouble as a project, because some certain stakeholders are very powerful stakeholders. Certain stakeholders are very influential in the organization. Certain stakeholders, they have a lot of decision making and approval authorities. And certain stakeholders are not decision maker or influential, but sorry, they are not decision makers directly, but they have their influence with their persona or with their, with their referential power. So you need to be careful about that. So the very first step towards stakeholders, towards that planning of stakeholders, is to understand your stakeholders, is to know your stakeholder, of course, but to understand them is even a bigger requirement than just knowing them. So that part, and there is one, actually I would say there are two other traits towards the stakeholders as well. They can be direct or indirect. Somebody has said that when I was inquiring about the stakeholders, that they can be direct or indirect as well. But the direct or indirect part actually is associated with their direct or indirect interest in the project objectives. The stakeholder is going to be a direct one for the reason that they are directly interested, or they are directly associated, or they are directly affected by what you are doing. And trust me, the direct stakeholders are the most easiest to come up with. They are the most easiest to know. Everybody knows customers is a stakeholders. Everybody knows different business users or change managers or senior management or sponsors or approvers are stakeholders, because they are direct stakeholders. Either they are interested, or either you are interested from some approvals or services from them, or it can be both. It's the indirect one that's the most tricky, and at times they are overlooked and they are missed in this identification and analysis process. Indirect ones are those who are either, they are not directly getting affected by what you are making. Maybe indirectly, yes, but they are not directly, associated with that interest of your project. Maybe consultants or some voluntary advisors, or some kind of peers that you may go to for project management support, or some learning some tools, or some other aspects. They are not directly interested in your project object. It's your project. You are supposed to be delivering it. They are not supposed. They are also the project managers, but they are not the project managers assigned on that project which we are talking about. So they would also be the stakeholders, but they are the indirect, because they are not directly interested or associated with the project object. Then the fourth aspect of the stakeholder is internal or external. Like we have already talked about it, that the stakeholders are not only the team members. Team members are always internal to our project. You can have some team members outside the organization depending on how you are teaming your project, but most of the time the team members are internal to that organization who is performing the project. However, stakeholders can be internal, external, and all the time is the case. Once the suppliers and external stakeholder, customers can be most of the time customers are external stakeholders. Your governance management bodies can be internal, can be external. So there can be many external stakeholders, regulatory bodies, compliance, standardization bodies, they are external bodies, audit bodies, they are external bodies. So there can be many internal stakeholders and the external ones. Any questions so far? All good?
Very clear.
Okay. So Ali is saying that, so Ali had I'm speaking about, so we can split the stakeholders as per the primary and secondary. Yes, the primary and secondary actually is the same thing as direct or indirect. So yes, the primary ones are the direct ones and the secondary ones are the indirect. Yes. So you are correct. So when we categorize the stakeholders in the stakeholder register, we talk about the direct, indirect, or the primary, secondary.